Hey everyone, I'm Kiran and I'm software engineer at GeekyAnts. So in today's video, we are diving deep into the powerful new feature in Next.js that is partial pre-rendering or PPR for short. If you worked with SSD, SSR or ISR before, you love how PPR combines the best of all worlds. We will cover what PPR is, why it's useful and then walk through a full step-by-step example. Let's get started. Partial pre-rendering is a new rendering strategy introduced in Next.js 14. It allows you to serve a page with both static and dynamic parts seamlessly. So instead of choosing between SSG or SSR, PPR lets you pre-render the static part at build time and defer the dynamic parts to be rendered on server and streamed to the client. In case of dynamic rendering, the server generates the HTML on every repo. So whenever a user visits the page, the server fetches the data, renders the HTML, and sends it back, all in the real time. This means the content is always fresh, but the trade-off is longer response times and higher server load. Example, we can think of a dashboard showing live data. Every user gets the latest content, but the server has to do work each time. This is kind of time-taking process. But in case of static rendering, the HTML is generated at a build time, not on every request. The server simply sends back a pre-rendered HTML file from the edge network, which is much faster to deliver. This approach is great for performance and scalability, but the content can be outdated unless you rebuild it. Example, think of a marketing page or a blog post. The content does not change often. So static rendering is perfect in such cases. In case of partial pre-rendering, it combines both static side and dynamic side rendering, where React can statically pre-render as much as the page as possible at build time, while postponing the rendering of UI inside the suspense boundaries until runtime. When your app is deployed, the partially pre-rendered HTML is pushed to the edge network and globally distributed. When a user visits the page, a nearby edge server immediately serves the static pre-rendered content. At the same time, it sends a request to the runtime server to begin rendering the dynamic parts. Meanwhile, browser can start putting the things and can load HTML and load assets like images, fonts, CSS, etc. Finally, as those dynamic chunks arrive from the runtime, the browser replaces the fallback with fresh content, filling in the missing parts of the page, all without blocking the user experience. Why use PPR? Why should we use PPR? Because it improves the performance and user experience, especially on modern apps where you need both static layout and live data. Imagine a dashboard that loads instantly, while the user data streams in dynamically, or a product page that shows static product info but fetches live stocking and pricing. So let's start with the demo. Open a new terminal and go to the folder where you want to install the application and type in npx create next app at playtest. So it's asking for a project name. I want to call it as a PPR demo. Ask whether I want to use a TypeScript or not. So I want to use TypeScript. So yes, ESLint yes, Tile1 CSS yes, source directory yes, app router. Yeah, we need to use app router because PPR only works on the app router. It won't work on the page router. Yes. So it asks for other options. So you can choose whatever needed. That's it. The installation will get completed. The application is successfully created. To use PPR, we need to install the package called Next Canary. Let's install that. Next Canary package is successfully installed. Now let's run the application and check whether it's working fine or not. Let's do npm run there. So application is successfully started on the port 3000. Let's run it. The application is working fine. As you can see, this is the basic template given by Next.js. Now let's go on and create a new components. Let's create a component folder inside source. Let's create components. So I'm planning to create one static component and one dynamic components. Let's create a static header. Let's add a new tag. Let's do a bit of styling for this. Let's go and import this component here in the page. Let's remove all of this boilerplate code. Application is successfully compiled. Let's check how it looks. This is how it looks. Now let's go ahead and create a dynamic component also. I'm planning to create dynamic user here. Let me create it. So inside this component, I'm planning to fetch data from random user.me.api. So let's go ahead and fetch the data from the API. Let's make it this async function. Let me copy paste to the get user logic. Yeah. As you can see here, now I'm fetching the data from the random user API and I'm returning the response. So let's use this response. Yeah. Let's convert this component to async component. And let's use the data here. Data dot. So in there will be an array given by this API. So we are trying to bring the first username here. So let's go ahead and import this dynamic user in the page. And let's run the application. Like let's check how it's working now. You can see whenever I refresh, you can see the new names here. To make things clear, let's go ahead and add a delay here for the response. Let's add set time mode here. Let's add a timing of 5 seconds. Now let's go again and run the local. If you can see now, it is taking 5 seconds to load the page. Let's go ahead and build the application and test it again. The build is successfully completed. Now let's start the application and check. Application is successfully started. Let's open incognito tab. As you can see now currently it's taking time at least 5 seconds. It will take at least 5 seconds to run the application since it's dynamically rendered. Let me show you this. If you can see here, the page is currently dynamically rendered, server rendered on demand. So it it is dynamically rendered. So now let's go ahead and turn on the PPR and check how things work differently. Let me turn on the experimental feature of PPR here. Yes, currently the PPR is experimental. It is suggested not to use it in a production. So we need to turn on the PPR experimental feature manually like this. And we need to go here inside the page and we need to export the experimental feature. And let's add a suspense boundary for the dynamic user. And for that, let's add a fallback. Let me create a new simple fallback as a loader here inside the component. Let's create a loader. And let's use it as a fallback. And now let's again do the build and check how things work. As you can see, now the page is partially pre-rendered. Pre-rendered as a static HTML with dynamically served content. So the landing page is currently partially pre-rendered. Let's start the application and check how it works. Let's visit the localhost again. If you can see the part of the static content, it is rendered and it is served from the edge network. If you can see, the header loaded very quickly, but user loaded uh, after 5 seconds. Although still the user is not yet completed, the part of the header will be displayed very quickly, very instantly. This is the partial pre-rendering. Now let's go back to the slides again. Where can you use PPR? You can use it in various websites. Here I have listed 3 of the use cases. You can use it in a product pages where you have both product info and live pricing, and you can use it in a dashboard pages where the static uh, there will be a static layout and there you need to show the real time stats also. Also you can use it in a news or blogs website where the content won't change much, also for live comments and Reddit posts. So let's check the pros and cons. Pros are it improves the performance, it improves the LCP score. Also, it combines the SSG and SSR, and it's ideal for modern usage. And the cons is it is still in experimental phase, and it only works on App Router, and it requires 18 plus React 18 plus. Uh, that's it. Hope you like the video. Thank you. Bye.